Welcome back to The Juggle is Real. It's Andryanna here, and I am popping on. I'm popping on to talk about something today that I think so many of us are experiencing just quietly behind the scenes and not necessarily doing anything about. And it's, not something big. I'm not talking about major health crises or something that would stop you in your tracks or hospitalize you or something crazy, but it is the small things, the things that make you think like, why do I feel like this lately? So it could be your energy, it could be your sleep, it could be your digestion. Maybe it's just that feeling of not quite feeling like yourself, like something is off. And so, what I've noticed, both personally and in conversations with many other women, is that we tend to brush those things off. We just keep going, we push through, we make adjustments, we try to just go on autocorrect. But what if those small things were actually worth paying attention to? Like not in a dramatic way, but in a responsive way. So, today I want to walk through 4 areas that I myself am personally looking at right now when it comes to my health, not as a full overhaul, not as like I've got to fix everything, do it all perfectly, but as a check in because these things are foundational. These things are supported by a lot of research and they can really make a difference in how we are feeling day to day. And these are not, very challenging things. These are not things that are going to take us a lot of time or effort. So I do want to just say this up front. I myself am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. And this episode is not medical advice. This is basically just what I am focusing on right now. These are some of the conversations I've had with healthcare providers and some of the research that I found, things that I've looked into, and just things that might be helpful for you to look into as well. So if that sounds good, let's dive right in.
This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
So to start, one of the reasons that I'm recording this episode is because yes, I am going through this myself and I've just had some appointments and stuff this week and we are in the spring season. And so we've kind of had this theme of, spring cleaning, doing like the mental cleanse, looking to, declutter our minds and also also spring cleaning our homes and just wanting that reset. And I think it stems from like just truly wanting to feel good. And I was at the rink. It was my son's last hockey game of the season. And it was a heartbreaker. We lost in overtime. I'm not going to get into that. But I overheard another mom say something to her husband. And I haven't really been able to shake it because it's so relatable. And it's something that I have thought to myself in the past before. And she just sort of said to him, as she had her coffee in hand, and it was sort of an earlier game, and she just said, like, I'm just so tired of being tired. And she wasn't being dramatic about it. She wasn't flailing about. She wasn't like, crying or like really complaining. She just went on with the rest of her day, but it was so real. And I think that's where a lot of women are, not completely burnt out or, in a hospital bed, but just feeling off. And I have felt that too in smaller ways, like I've been experiencing like a little bit more like brain fog, a little less memory. And and it's so funny because I've had this outline ready for this episode. And part of it was talking about this very thing. And before I got to recording this, I I just went through the same thing that I'm like, okay, exactly. This is why I'm doing this, because I sat down to record the episode and I didn't have the cord for my laptop to make sure that my laptop was plugged in. So I go to get the laptop cord and I did get it, but then I guess I went and I plugged it in, and then my diffuser was right behind me where the plug is, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to, put some nice essential oils going on? Like, let's get some nice, lemon essential oil. Let's lighten the mood. Let's feel like, let's involve the senses here while I'm recording. I guess I did that. Then I went and grabbed my purse so I could put some lip gloss on. And then I got my tea. And then I came back to my laptop and I'm like, oh, I need my charging. I need my cord. Where's my cord? And then I'm thinking, I swear I got it. But no, I go back to the spot to confirm. Yep, there's no cord there. Come back here to where I'm recording. And sure enough, the cord is plugged into the wall. It just wasn't plugged into my laptop. So just one quick little example of it. But like some of us, we're feeling some of these things. Maybe we're a little more tired than usual, maybe a bit foggy. Maybe it's just not quite as clear, or, you can feel more energized, And this year and this time, because a lot of us can brush things off, I'm paying more attention. Okay. So my birthday is in April. And so I've started using this time of year, being that it's spring, as this yearly check-in. I'm getting a year older. I want the spring reset, not in a way that has a lot of pressure, but in a like, let's actually just figure this out. Let's see if we can be a bit preventative before something forces me to actually take a hard look. So I booked some appointments. I saw my family doctor, saw a naturopath. I got blood work requisition, did some saliva testing, not because something is super, super wrong, but then there's things that are worth noticing, like there's small things that if I'm supporting myself early on, it's so much easier to manage, So instead of, if your gas light comes on and just waiting until you're completely at empty, I know a lot of us do that, but your check engine light comes on, just like last week's episode, when we were talking with Monica Tanner, if you're getting these signals, if you are tending to it earlier on, it's so much easier to manage. And so what both my medical doctor and naturopath said in sort of different ways was basically that prevention is care. And I know we talk a lot about self-care. We talk about trusting ourselves. We talk about, making ourselves a priority. And this is one of those things that is so important, not reacting once something is terribly wrong, once you're in the emergency room, but being responsive when your body is already just trying to get your attention, because we know our bodies are always communicating with us, but we don't always listen. So many of us are normalizing being exhausted, having brain fog, not being able to speak, I don't know, brain fog, bloating or indigestion or irritability, poor sleep, or just not feeling rested when we wake up. And so we make excuses for ourselves. Well, it's just busy right now. We'll figure it out later. I'll deal with it another time. Or, once this happens or once that happens, if then. And when we feel these things, they're often signals. And especially for women who are in our 30s and 40s, our hormones are shifting. If you're rearing children, if your children are getting older, if your stress is higher, the recovery is a little bit different. And so these subtle changes, we can easily ignore them, or we could say, I'm just getting old, or it's because of this or because of that. But when you ignore them, then sometimes it can manifest into something bigger. So with that in mind, and I know this is a big preamble, but this is really, what we are going through right now. Here, I want to share 4 areas that I think are very much worth looking into right now. So the first one, I know it's simple, but I know you're thinking, crap, I have to do that. And it really is to book the appointments, and not necessarily because something's super wrong, but because something might be slightly off. And a lot of women are operating in this space of, I don't feel great, but I'm still functioning. I can still get to work. I can still pick up the kids. Maybe I'm completely toast by the end of the night. Maybe I have zero libido and, I haven't been intimate with my husband in months, or maybe I feel tired all the time, but like I just, another cup of coffee is going to do the trick. And then that becomes your standard. And so if you're getting through your day, you assume, okay, everything's fine. Maybe tomorrow will be better. But just functioning, just like going through the motions, is not the same as feeling well and like really living from a place of like feeling good and okay. And from a health perspective, this is really where the preventative care matters, because there are things like low iron, low B12, a vitamin D deficiency. Maybe there's shifts in your thyroid, hormonal imbalances. These don't always show up in big ways. And in fact, 2 years ago, I had a blood panel done and it showed that my ferritin was a little bit low, and ferritin is part of your iron, right? So it shows up maybe as things like fatigue, or like I'm talking about, like maybe you're just not feeling as motivated. Maybe you're a little bit snappier and more irritable, just feeling like your memory's not as great, or maybe you do something, like maybe for instance you do a workout and it takes you forever to like recover from that, or you do go out or you stay up late and then it takes you a full week to recover. Even just iron specifically, for women, especially if you're menstruating, or if you're having babies, pregnancies, these levels can be lower, and your iron impacts how oxygen is delivered in your body. So when it's low, you might feel super, super exhausted. It's natural if your iron is low to have that brain fog, or to feel just mentally drained, or you might be actually just like out of breath more easily when you go up the stairs, or you're taking in your groceries. But like the important thing in all of this is often something like this can be supported once you know. So instead of asking like, is something like majorly wrong? I just feel tired. It's more like, is this something that is worth looking into? And the answer is yes. Like, as if you're feeling off, it is absolutely worth looking into you, because you are so worthy of this preventative care. So once you open that door, then the next place to look is what you're actually giving your body to work with. Okay, so step one, book the appointments if you haven't seen your doctor lately, or maybe you want to look into a different type of care. I've been seeing since the beginning of the year, I've been booking routine chiropractic and massage therapy appointments, seeing a physiotherapist. These different modes and modalities can be super, super supportive and can help you sort of uncover, oh, it makes so much sense that you're feeling so tired all the time because your iron is low. Like something as simple as that can have a very simple care that can support you and then almost instantly help you feel better, or at least uncover a little bit more and be able to put those pieces of the puzzle together. So the next thing that I do want to talk about when it comes to sort of looking at this, sort of spring reset, looking at our health, being responsive, is our gut health. Okay. And it's not a glamorous topic to talk about your microbiome, to talk about your gut, to talk about if you're feeling bloaty, or if you're feeling, if you're, not having regular bowel movements. Not something that everyone wants to talk about, not super exciting, but one of the most important, really and truly, because it impacts so many different things. And specifically here, I want to talk about fiber, because I know everyone is really like gung ho on the protein thing. But fiber, while not exciting, is super, super important. And I'm going to say, like, this is some information that I have found online, but advice may differ depending on who your medical practitioner is, or depending on what your needs are. But on average, most women need around 25 grams of fiber per day. And most women are not getting that. In fact, they're not even getting like half of that. And this is where your body can really feel it, because fiber supports so many things in your body. It supports blood sugar regulation. Okay. It supports your cholesterol. It supports how full you're feeling. So if you're like, oh, I eat so healthy, but I'm like so hungry all the time and I need to eat more, like feeling full and feeling satiated, feeling satisfied after a meal means that you're going to fill up on good things and you're not going to be going for like the mid afternoon crash of a candy bar or like chips at the end of the night or whatever it is, things that you maybe don't feel so great after eating. Well, fiber and fullness are directly related. And then, of course, your gut health. And your gut is not just digestion, right? So your gut microbiome plays a role in your immune function, okay? And like if you're getting sick often, it plays a role in inflammation in your body. And then, of course, if you're inflamed, then that can lead to a whole bunch of other health issues, right? Your gut, your microbiome affects your mood. Like, is that not just the most wild thing? Like, how you're feeling and your mood um, is affected by your gut. And then also hormone regulation as well. So, there's growing research that connects gut health to estrogen metabolism. So for women, this matters beyond just digestion, beyond just like if you're gassy and bloated, right? When your gut is off, it can actually show up as, yes, as bloating, as gas, not the greatest, right? As constipation, as skin issues, right? If your skin is all of a sudden breaking out, it could be related to your gut. It also can be related to hormonal symptoms, those energy dips, just feeling tired. And one of the simplest ways to support all of this is by consuming more fiber and not saying, that it has to be like just supplements all the time, but like eating foods that are more rich in fiber. So, of course, we know fruits have a lot of fiber, and if you can Google what is going to be appealing to you. I myself personally, I don't eat a lot of fruit. I just don't have a sweet tooth, and I've come to the point in my life where I don't eat the food. I don't eat food that if I don't really like it, because I went through a lot of like a huge period, probably like all of my 20s, like thinking, oh, well, this is healthy, I should eat it, even if I just didn't even want it. And then because I wasn't satisfied because I ate something I didn't really like, then I was going for the things that I didn't want to be eating because I wasn't satisfied. So that's a rant over there. But something like avocado, adding avocado to your meals. Beans, of course, lentils. There are some vegetables higher in fiber, nuts and seeds. This is all very doable. You know what I mean? Like you can throw avocado in your smoothie or like put it in your salad at lunch. Yeah, go spring for the guacamole, pay $2 more or whatever it is. If you're making something, like a chili, you're putting beans in or a soup, lentils with your dinner, adding it to rice, something like that, and increase it slowly. Because I will say, please don't all of a sudden listen to this episode and then just like eat a giant can of beans and like, polish it down with like an avocado smoothie and then like just eat like, I don't know, like like crates of raspberries, because your body does need time to adjust. Okay. So don't just like go crazy fiber. You want to slowly incorporate this and make sure you're still drinking lots of water, because before we overcomplicate gut health, we need to ask like if we're actually feeding it. So sometimes it's great, and there are free apps that you can use to track like, so how much fiber are you actually getting, and just like give yourself a couple of days to track what you're eating, and then see like, are there some gaps, are there some holes, like, oh, breakfast I'm getting like zero fiber, or like my lunch I could probably do a little bit more. So slowly incorporating it. Once you know better, you can do better, right? And then once your body is supported from the inside, then we can move on to the next thing, because there's four things I want to share. So the next one is your sleep hygiene. And sleep, it really is that next thing that either supports you or it's going to work against you. And I know, we know sleep is often the first thing we sacrifice, and for various reasons, right? You might have work deadlines, and so you might be staying up later or waking up earlier. Sometimes we don't have a lot of choice in the matter if we have young children who are up in the night, or we have to, if we're, nursing or we're doing these things, or maybe we have children who are coming into bed with us or they're waking in the night. And then if we are particularly busy, it's often the first thing that we're like, I guess I'm just not going to sleep as much. But it's not just the rest part, right? Like it is the regulation, because your body uses sleep to restore and repair and actually balance your hormones and support your nervous system. And so, you know, like some people need more, some people need less. The average person, the average adult needs about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And consistently getting less than that, it really does impact your mood and your energy and your focus and how stressed out you feel. And for women, stress disruptions are more common due to these hormonal shifts that we are the things that are happening in our body. So when your sleep is off, you might feel really tired, but you're also wired like you couldn't fall asleep even if you tried. You could feel restless, not fully rested, like my hockey mom friend who's saying, I'm tired of being tired. Or you might be more reactive, like if someone says something to you, you might be like really quick to jump to conclusions or like snap back. And I will say that this is a very nuanced topic because there are so many different factors that can affect how much sleep and the quality of your sleep, but it really doesn't have to be complicated. And so if we start with the basics, we can work from there, right? So if you're going to see, book those appointments, speak to a medical practitioner, you're going to be looking at your fiber. Step 3 is looking at a consistent bedtime, trying to get to bed within, the same 15-20 minute window every night. And the same on the flip side, consistent time to wake up, because if that's fluctuating, then it's going to fluctuate when you want to go to bed. And so trying to be really consistent with that, give or take as much as possible. And then having less light around you at night, so you're going to be dimming the lights. You're going to be trying to get less screen time in the evenings. You're going to be hopefully scrolling a little bit less right before bed. And then maybe you're going to be removing some of the caffeine if you're, having foods or beverages with caffeine later in the day. So maybe cutting out that last cup of coffee or tea or food that has caffeine in it. And that might support going to bed a little bit earlier. So you're not gaining time at night. Like I think a lot of us, especially as women, especially as moms, it's like by the end of the day, you finally get everyone to bed, or you finally finish that little laundry, and you're like, okay, but what about me? And then you want to do something for you. And so that's where the binge watching shows and reality TV, and I fell into that trap. And I was like, it was a hard habit to break, but I had to learn, like, I'm not gaining time at night by staying up later. What I'm really doing is taking energy from myself from the next day. So if I want tomorrow me to feel good, to feel energized, to be in a good mood, and be able to be with my children and my spouse and show up at work better, I need to actually have that time at night to be rested. And so instead of borrowing tomorrow's energy, I switched the thinking of like, if I sleep now, then I'll have more energy tomorrow. And that might mean waking up a little bit earlier and then enjoying that time for myself in the morning. And that's what I've ended up doing. So once the foundations are supported, then we can move on. And I will say too, like, these four little categories are all very interrelated. And so if you are having trouble sleeping, if you are saying like, I try to go to bed at the same time, I'm still waking up, I'm taking magnesium, I'm doing all these things, this is where you're booking the appointment and speaking to a healthcare provider, and they can ask those questions that are related and very specific to how you're feeling and what you're going through. And then they can try to uncover and put that puzzle together and support you with that. So we will move on, but I will say this is all like connected, and all very simple once you kind of get these things going. So the last thing that I do want to touch upon, and I know, again, because this is like a very trendy thing, but it is supporting your body through strength training. And this is a long-term thing too. Like this is not a short-term win and it's a one and done thing, because this really is, now we are learning so much more how it's going to support your body long term. And it is not just about vanity and how you look. It really is about how your body functions. So supporting our muscle, supporting our bones, our bone density as women, also supporting things like our metabolism. And this is like a big one, because I've noticed in, family members and people who are so important to me, who are aging. It supports your balance. And so getting into the habit earlier versus later is going to be like the number one thing that we can do to support ourselves long term. So in our 30s, in our 40s, our muscle is naturally declining. And so that means that if you're not maintaining the muscle mass you have, you are just going to lose it. And that's going to show up as lower energy and feeling less strength, feeling more fatigued and more strained when you're trying to do your everyday normal things. And so the good news is, I'm not a health coach, but you don't need a lot. So even doing some strength training twice a week, that can make a big difference. And so if you can start with that, things even that are just using your own body weight, plyometrics, maybe using some dumbbells, maybe using some bands, simple things in a consistent way. It can be and it will be life changing, especially later on in life. And this one's hard for me because I really and truly don't love like lifting weights and like I don't love like the gym scene. And that's just where I'm at right now because I spent a lot of time in a gym earlier in my life. But it is, again, shifting that mindset and thinking like, do I want to be a grandma who can sit on the floor and play with my grandkids? Do I want to be living independently? Do I want to have that energy? Even like here and now, my kids are pretty busy. Do I want to keep up with them when they are going on a bike ride? So strength training really isn't about changing your body, even though it certainly does, but it is about supporting it. So if you aren't currently supporting your body with strength training, it might be something to look at this spring as the weather is changing, as it's getting nicer out, doing some things once or twice a week that's going to support that muscle mass in your body. So we're getting ready to close out this episode, and I think I've been chatting with you for quite a while, and I hope you've gotten a few things. But really, if you take anything from this episode, let it be that you don't need to completely change your life, but you do need to stop ignoring those little whispers. Stop ignoring what your body is trying to tell you, because those little things, those little check engine lights or little like change your oil, in the next 300 kilometers, those things matter. And so when you are supporting the basics and booking those appointments, even though it's probably annoying to do, I get it. I hate doing it myself. Carving out that small amount of time could be adding a bit more fiber to your diet, throw an avocado in every day or something that's going to support that. Looking at your sleep hygiene and saying like, can I make one or two small adjustments here? Looking at how you're moving your body and incorporating a bit more strength training with that. I mean, you don't just feel a little better, right? But you will. If you're looking at these things, I think you probably will start to feel better, but you're going to feel more like yourself again, right? And when you feel like yourself, or on the flip side, when you feel off, like it's a terrible feeling and it's hard to shake off. But little by little, as you start feeling better, you start feeling more like yourself again. And then you find yourself, laughing more or saying yes to more things or just like enjoying the moments. You feel more rested. So you feel like you have the energy to do the things that maybe you've been putting off, and you could enjoy the time with the people that you love, which I think like, isn't that what this is all about? Isn't this why we're here? It's not to like look great in jeans or to like, have a bikini bod. It's like, can I enjoy those moments with the people that I love and actually feel good and not feel like I'm pushing myself and constantly trudging through mud just to like make it through the day. So if this resonated with you, I would say start with one thing, make that one appointment, do something and act on it right now, today, this week. Call up your doctor, add in a little more fiber, go to bed 15 minutes earlier, turn your phone off, charge it in another room, move your body in a way that is going to support that muscle and that bone density. And just start with one thing. And if you know someone who's been saying, like my sweet friend, I'm just so tired of being tired, could you please send this to them? You might be supporting them in such a huge way by just sending them a link to this episode. As always, I would love to hear what stood out for you. I would love to hear you. You can send me a DM on Andryanna G on Instagram. You can send me an email. The address is in the notes for this podcast episode. And if you want to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts to let me know how you're enjoying it, I would really, really appreciate that. I can't wait to see you here for the next episode, but until then, take good care.